Let's now take a look at the newspaper headlines, and we begin, of course, in Nigeria with the newspaper of record, This Day newspaper, which is leading with the story that we've already discussed in great detail, which is that court restrains First Bank over general hydrocarbons. Otedola, others face arrest, and the oil firm, which is GHL, is set to sue for $1 billion in damages over the bank's alleged breach of contract, and more shareholders oppose the bank's private placement exercise. Above that, still chiming in with First Bank, concerns mount over Geregu First Bank share prices, financial statements. Just more of a deep dive into the state of affairs currently in Geregu Holdings and First Bank. Now we move to the Punch newspaper. The Punch newspaper is leading with Nigeria-Sino relations. Nigeria-China plan collaboration on military training, arms production. And China has announced a 1 billion Chinese yuan grant for Nigeria and others to train over 7,000 military personnel. Of course, we know that the Chinese foreign minister is currently in Nigeria. I met with the president yesterday. That's Wang Yi. So this is part of it. Military support from China is a conversation to be had. Now let's move on to the Guardian newspaper. The Guardian is looking at pediatric nutrition, child health. And the headline there is health concerns over affordability, safety, quality of infant meals. So it's talking about how after the 6 months of exclusive breastfeeding, new mothers across the country are struggling to find something to feed their children because the imported formulas are now too expensive, and the local ones are said to be in question with regards to meeting levels of standards. So a real issue there that the Guardian has done a fantastic investigation on. Now to New Telegraph. New Telegraph is, again, looking at Nigeria-Sino relations. Tinubu seeks China's support for Nigeria's Permanent Security Council bid. That was part of the conversation, of course, that happened in addition to conversations around currency swap and so forth, is the advocacy for a Permanent Security Council bid for Nigeria. And also at the bottom, what caught my attention, news on the 2025 appropriation bill. Yesterday, there was a hot and heated session in the Senate as the Senate grilled ministers and heads of agencies about both the 2025 appropriation bill and the 2024. Lots of details on that, so you definitely want to read more on it. Now to the Tribune. The Tribune is talking about northern stakeholders demanding VAT reduction to 3%. So the Tribune is staying on this issue of the tax reform bill, and is saying that the call is for relocation of corporate headquarters of banks, telecom companies to Abuja, is what the northern stakeholders are now advocating for. So, of course, we know some of the issues concerning this tax reform bills is that a lot of companies are headquartered in Lagos State primarily. So the new request from the northern stakeholders is that, well, let's move their headquarters to Abuja. A conversation to be had. Now we move to Kenya, to the Daily Nation newspaper. So I love this tradition. This is a tradition that happens in many African countries where they publish the top academic results of the year. So Daily Nation says record smashers, 2024 Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education, and it basically highlights those who scored very well. Their pictures are there and their scores are there. And I believe they also listed those who, and the schools who got the highest results. They do it in South Africa as well. They do it in Zimbabwe. I think it's a fantastic practice. Let's celebrate young academics and encourage them. Now to Daily Graphic of Ghana, where the conversation is now about stable power. So Daily Graphic of Ghana is saying stable power supply assured. That's a statement by the new president, John Mahama. And I decided to quote what he said. He says, there is a threat of power outages, but my brothers and sisters, don't despair. Like I said, you elected us to solve the problems, not to put the blame on anyone else or to shoulder you with those problems. I mean, spoken like a true statesman. I think it's also refreshing, for us to hear a president coming in, not blaming the past administration and just saying, it's not your problem that the past administration messed up. I'm going to fix it. Fantastic. Now to the Guardian UK, to something that Dr. Abati has already highlighted, but I don't think we can overemphasize this. The lead story there is world temperatures overshoot 1.5 degrees Celsius Paris deal limit. for the first time, and it's just giving insight into how 2024 was the hottest year on record and the implications of that. And of course, the image there is the image, I believe that was the moment that Jimmy Carter's body was just about to be wheeled out of the cathedral.
All right. Thank you so much, Vimba. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time to analyze, but I don't know if what's happening in LA would convince climate denier Donald Trump when he comes in to be more proactive about dealing with the challenges of climate change and also increasing funding, as he's always talked about cutting funding in that regard.